Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Welcome to Storytime Magic. I'm back. I'm Miss Sheila, your friend from Ready Readers, and I'm here to share some stories with you. Do you remember when we were talking on Tuesday and we read a bunch of stories? I think we read 3 stories on Tuesday. And they were about how people can be different and how people can be the same. Remember, we looked at this book with our friends from Sesame Street, and we talked about how some people's noses are long and some people have red hair and all of that, but that we're the same because most people have hair, not everybody, but most people do. Most people walk around on 2 feet, or at least one leg and 1 foot. Some people get around in a wheelchair, right? We saw that in this book. There we go. We saw that in this book. Remember, this was called All Are Welcome Here. And that's what I like to think about Storytime Magic. Everybody is welcome here to enjoy some books and stories and friendship and fun. So we're going to keep talking a little bit about this idea of being different and being the same. I shared with you on Tuesday my story about how when I was little, people weren't very nice to me sometimes because I looked different and my skin was darker than their skin. Because I told you my mom was from an island in the Caribbean, or Caribbean, as some people say. And our skin is a little darker. Not so much now because I don't get out in the sun very much, but especially when I was little. And I know that when people called me these bad names, I didn't really know what the words meant because I had never heard them before. But you know how I could tell that they were being mean to me? You know how I could tell that the words they were using weren't nice? It was the way they said them. So sometimes using your words, you can use your words to hurt people too. We all know it's not nice to hurt people, right? We all know that you shouldn't kick or hit or bite or push people or things like that, right? Those are ways that we need to control our bodies to keep from hurting somebody else. But sometimes people use words to hurt each other. And that just hurts my heart so very much, right? Because everybody has feelings and everybody deserves for people to be nice to them and see them for who they really are. Because remember, we're really more alike than we are different. I see my friend Rosalind is here. Hello, Rosalind. Good morning. Good morning. Who else is joining us today? I don't know. As you come in, be sure to type your names in there so I can say hello to you. And for all those people who will be watching this again later, hello, hello, hello. I'm so glad that you're here to enjoy some stories with us. So before we read our first book, oh, look, Quinn just popped in. Hi, Quinn. How are you? Before we read our first book, I want you to answer the question of the day. Are you ready? So the stories we're going to read are going to be about people who are a little different, but really cool and fabulous, because that's kind of what being different is, right? It's being your own unique self. And so the first book that we're going to read is this book. I love this story. It's called Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon. And Molly Lou has a problem with the way other people look at her and what they might think about her. But she has a very wise person in her life, her grandma, who helps her understand how to handle that. And I love that. So the question of the day for you is, who is in your life that helps you understand things? Is it somebody in your family? Is it maybe a teacher? Is it maybe your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad or your uncle or your auntie? Who is it? What kinds of people do we rely on to help us understand stuff? Because the world can be very confusing, can't it? Yes. So Quinn's dad, Greg, read the message that I put up earlier that said, tell me what your name is and how old you are and where you're watching from. Yay, Greg Johnson, good job. So Quinn is here. Quinn is 3.5. Oh, such an awesome age, Quinn. 3.5 and lives in St. Louis. So I'm going to read Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon. This is Molly Lou Melon. You maybe figured that out from the title of the book. She doesn't look very tall. Look at those flowers. You're about the same size she is. She looks pretty tiny. So I think that's interesting that you're telling a tiny person to stand tall. I wonder what that means. Should we read it and find out? Let's see. Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon by Patty Lovell. Not only is this story great, that's the part that Patty Lovell, the author, wrote, but the illustrations or the pictures are awesome also. And the pictures are from David Catrow. David Catrow. And they were done in pencil and ink, which I think is interesting. Oh, before we get started, we've got Calvin. Calvin is here. Rosalind, we already said hi to Rosalind, but hi, Calvin. Calvin is 4 and Rosalind is 3. I'm so glad you guys are joining us. So here we go. Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon. Aren't these wonderful pictures? Look at all the stuff there is to see in that picture. And there's Molly Lou, little tiny Molly Lou. Molly Lou Melon stood just taller than her dog and was the shortest girl in the 1st grade. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, walk as proudly as you can and the world will look up to you. Even though she's short, it means the world will think you're a great person because they see how proud you are of yourself. Look at what Molly Lou can do. She's balancing on one hand on the railing. Molly Lou thought about her grandmother, what her grandmother said. She kept her head tall, and the world is looking up at her, aren't they? Look at that. There's a sister and some kitties. Molly Lou Melon had buck teeth. Do you know what buck teeth are? It's when your top teeth stick out farther than your bottom teeth. That's called buck teeth. Molly Lou Melon had buck teeth that stuck out so far she could stack pennies on her teeth. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, smile big and the world will smile right along with you. Do you ever notice that? If somebody gives you a smile, you want to automatically give them a smile back. And there's Molly Lou's smile. So Molly Lou did. She smiled at the world and the world smiled back. Where's Molly Lou? Looks like she's down in a bog with a frog. What's going on here? Molly Lou Melon had a voice that sounded like a bullfrog being squeezed by a boa constrictor. My goodness, that's quite a description, isn't it? She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, sing out clear and strong and the world will cry tears of joy. You ever notice how it makes you happy when somebody sings? And sure enough, Molly Lou sang out and everybody around her was happy. Good job, Molly Lou. Molly Lou Melon was often fumble-fingered. That means she dropped stuff. she wasn't necessarily good at balancing things. What is she trying to balance in this picture? She's trying to balance lots of dirty dishes. She must be taking them to the sink to wash them. But before she gets to the sink, what happens? Oh no. Molly Lou drops all the dishes and they fall on the floor and they crash, bang, boom, and they break. And poor Molly Lou, she looks a little startled, doesn't she? Look at how big her eyes are. Oh no. Molly Lou Melon was often fumble-fingered, but she didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, believe in yourself and the world will believe in you too. Well, how do you believe in yourself when you've just had an accident like that? Let's see. Did she give up? Oh, no, she didn't. She kept practicing balancing, and look what happened. She got so good at balancing, she learned to juggle and ride a unicycle on a tightrope in her living room. And everybody is looking up and watching. Good job, Molly Lou Melon. But then Molly Lou Melon moved to a new town. She had to say goodbye to her grandma and all of her friends. Oh, that's very sad. It's hard leaving someplace where you know everybody, isn't it? And to go someplace new where everybody is new and they don't know you. Sometimes that's happening right now for people going back to school. It can be hard. Molly Lou had to start a new school. There she is getting up on the bus the first day. Everything seems so big. Everything is big to Molly Lou, remember? She's very tiny. On the first day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Shrimpo in gym class. When the game started, Molly Lou Melon caught the football, ran under the legs of Ronald Durkin, and scored a touchdown. All the children thought, wow, she's good. And Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. So this is Ronald Durkin. He decided not to be nice to the new girl. But these kids saw Molly Lou play and thought, whoa, she's awesome. On the second day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Bucky Tooth Beaver. Molly Lou Melon took out her pennies, stacked 10 pennies high on her teeth, and smiled as big as day. All the children smiled with glee, and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. Ronald Durkin thought that if he made fun of Molly Lou, then all those kids would not be friends with her. Maybe they would be friends with him instead. Is that working? No. Because look at Molly Lou. She's amazing. She's awesome. She has so many talents. And all the kids are going, wow, I want to be like her. So that's making him feel a little foolish. On the third day at school, Ronald Durkin said, you sound like a sick duck. Honk, honk. I don't think I care for that Ronald Durkin. I don't like the way he treats people. Molly Lou Melon sang out a quack so clear and strong that it made Ronald Durkin somersault backwards, hit his head, and have to go to the nurse's office. All the children cried with joy to be free of Ronald Durkin for the rest of the afternoon, and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. Did you hear what they said? All the other kids were glad that he had to go to the nurse. He must have been being mean to them too. Sometimes we meet people like that. They're called bullies. That's not the way I want to be. How about you? On the fourth day of school, Ronald Durkin said she'd made the snowflake all wrong. But Molly Lou Melon opened up her paper and revealed the most beautiful snowflake of all. My goodness, look at how big her snowflake is. All the children oohed and ahed, even Ronald Durkin. Do you think maybe he's starting to figure it out? I hope so. On the 5th day of school, Ronald Durkin brought Molly Lou Melon a stacking penny for her tooth, and he smiled at her. She's getting through to him. That night, Molly Lou Melon took out a pencil and paper and wrote a letter to her grandmother. Dear Grandma, I wanted to tell you that everything you told me was exactly right. Love, Molly Lou Melon. Oh, I love that story, and I love Molly Lou Melon because even when people weren't being nice to her, she just kept being herself because she knew that she was awesome. She knew she was amazing, and she knew she didn't have to change who she was for somebody else, right? I love that about Molly Lou. Let's see who else has joined her. Oh, Rosalind says, remember I asked the question of the day, and the question of the day is, who in your life helps you? Molly Lou Melon's grandma helped her learn how to be proud of herself, right? And how to never give up. That's a very important lesson for all of us to learn. So who in your life helps you? Rosalind says her mom helps her understand things. Moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles are usually pretty good for that, right? But so are teachers. I'm a teacher and I'm a mom. So if you're ever having trouble figuring something out, don't let it worry you inside too much. Find a grown-up that you know loves you and talk to them about it, right? Read this story about Molly Lou Melon with them and have a talk. Oh, Calvin is here. Calvin is 4 years old. Tierney is going to be 4 in August. Tierney, my birthday is in August too. When is your birthday, Tierney? My birthday is August 28th. Let's see, Tierney and Frankie must be brother and sister. They're in St. Louis, and Frankie will be 2 in September. And Quinn says that her mommy and daddy help her. Let's see. Oh, Vince is here. Hi, Vince. You're back. Good to see you, Vince. Vince is 4 years old, and his mom and dad help him too. Isn't it so good for us to help each other? I know that if I only had myself and I had to figure everything in life out all by myself, that would be super hard, don't you think? I'm so glad that I have friends. And did you know, even my children help me learn things. Did you know that could be true? Did you know that kids can help their parents understand things? It's true. Did you know that grown-ups don't always know everything? That's really true. Did you know grown-ups worry sometimes? Yep. So grown-ups and kids have a lot of things alike and some things that are different, right? Like, what's something that you have in common with your parent? You might have the same color hair, or you might have the same color eyes. But what's something different? Maybe your mom or dad or granny, maybe they can drive a car. But can you drive a car? No, maybe a little car, right? But not a big car. So there's lots of things that grown-ups and kids have that are alike and that are different. Feelings are things that everybody has that are alike. Well, I want to read this next story for you. It's called This Is Our House. And it's all about a bunch of kids at school playing together. And do you go to school? Where do you go to school? Do you have friends at school? Yeah. What are some of the names of your friends? And when you play with your friends at school, does everybody use nice voices? Does everybody think about what the other people want to play? Sometimes it's hard being friends, right? Because I want to swing on the swing. but your friend might want to dig in the sand. And you think, but I want to swing on the swing. Come swing with me. But that's what I want to do. Maybe not what my friend wants to do. So should I make my friend do what I want to do? No, not really. Maybe I could make a deal and say, hey, I'll dig in the sand with you. And when we're done, will you swing on the swing with me? That's called cooperation and taking turns. It's not always easy, but it's important to learn how to do. So we're going to read this book. This is Our House. The author is Michael Rosen, and the illustrator is Bob Graham. And I like the fact that there's lots of different kinds of, lots of different kids pictured here. Some are tall, some are short, some have light hair, some have dark hair, some are wearing glasses. There's a couple of them that look like twins, maybe. We'll see. This is Our House. Oh, look. Does that look like a big apartment area? Yeah. Those are big buildings, and all those windows look into people's homes, right? This is, oh, it says this is our house. And look, it looks like a box. Do you think they're going to pretend that a box is their house? I love pretending, and I love building stuff out of boxes. So this is going to be a good story, I can tell. George was in the house. The house is mine and no one else is coming in, George said. It's not your house, George, said Lindy. It belongs to everybody. That's how it is at school, right? When you're at school, everybody shares. Doesn't sound like George is very interested in sharing, though. This doesn't belong to everybody, said George. This house is all for me. Look at their faces. Do they look like that makes them happy? No. They want to play. They're not quite sure why George is not letting them play. Lindy and Marley went for a walk over to the swings. It's not George's house, is it? Said Lindy. Of course it isn't, said Marley. Lindy and Marley looked in the window of the house. It's not your house, George, and we're coming in. Oh, no, you're not, said George. This house isn't for girls. Excuse me? I don't like that rule, do you? Freddie was walking past with Rabbity. I've come to put Rabbity to bed in the house, said Freddie. You can't, said George. This house isn't for small people like you. So he doesn't want girls in the house. He doesn't want small people in the house. This is not looking good. Freddie took Rabbity for a ride in the car. Charlene and Marlene fixed the front wheel for him. George won't let me and Rabbity in the house, said Freddie. Charlene and Marlene, Freddie and Rabbity headed straight for the house to talk to George again. Stop right there, says George. We're coming in to fix the fridge, said Charlene and Marlene. Oh, no, you're not, said George. This house isn't for twins. Oh, my goodness. Now he doesn't want twins to come in either. So let's see. Girls, no. Short people, no. Twins, no. I think George has a problem. Luther's jumbo jet landed in the house. He went to get it. Where do you think you're going? Said George. Flight 505 has crashed, said Luther, and I'm coming in for the rescue. Fire, fire, wee-oh, wee-oh, wee-oh. You're not coming in here, said George. It seems like all the other kids are pretending and playing together and having fun. Is George doing that too? It seems like there's some problems happening here. What do you think the problems are? The kids want to play, but one of the children is not letting them play. One of the children thinks he's the boss of everybody else. Is that how it works at your school? Not at my school. Luther radioed for help. Calling Dr. Sophie, calling Dr. Sophie. Can I help you, said Sophie. We can't get at the plane, doctor, said Luther. Leave it to me, said Sophie. Sophie and Luther pushed through the crowd. Make way for the doctor, said Luther. We're coming in, said Sophie. Do you think George is going to let them in? Oh, no, you're not, said George. This house isn't for people with glasses. Excuse me. Rashida had a plan. I'm going to tunnel into the house. She poked her head under the house. Go away, said George. This is my house. Well, this is my tunnel, said Rashida. Good for you, Rashida. Well, tunnel somewhere else, said George. This house isn't for people who like tunnels. It was getting very noisy around the house now, and it was getting hot, and George had to go to the bathroom. I'm going to leave my house now, said George, and no one can go in when I'm gone. What do you think is going to happen next? George goes to the bathroom. Lindy, Marley, Freddie, Rabbity, Marlene, Charlene, Luther, Sophie, and Rashida went straight into the house. Good for you. George came back. There wasn't any room for George in the house. This house isn't for people with red hair, said Charlene. What if she'd said there's no room? That would have been okay with me. But I don't know. Charlene is saying he can't come in because he has red hair. That's kind of what he was saying to them, wasn't it? It didn't feel good when George said it. Do you think it feels good when the other people say it? Let's see what happens. George started to shout at all the kids. Then George started to cry. George started to stamp his feet and kick the house wall, and then he stopped. And he looked. This house is for people with red hair, said George, and it's for girls and small people and twins and for people who wear glasses and people who like tunnels too. Because, shouted Lindy, Marley, Freddie, Marlene, Charlene, Luther, Sophie, and Rashida, this house is for everyone. And they all played together on the playground. Can you see them over here? All playing in the house. Oh, that story was exhausting. It can be exhausting, can't it? When people say to you, you can't do this with me. I'm the only person who can do it. And sometimes that's just being selfish. It means you're really only thinking of yourself. And everybody does that sometimes, even me. Everybody does. It's something that we have to think about when we're playing with other people and talking to other people and living with other people, right? We can't just think about what makes us feel good. We have to think about everybody else because everybody should have a chance to be happy, don't you think? I like how in the end of this story, George realized that it wasn't all about him, that everybody else had a right to play in that box. And you know how I can tell that happened? You might have noticed in the illustrations that George is in color. See how he's colorful inside the house? And the one child he's talking to is in color, but he's not really paying attention to anybody else. That's why we don't see any details or colors about them. Even all the way back here, where they're playing and more kids are involved, he's still not seeing them, right? When he goes to the bathroom and comes back, he's still not seeing them as individual people. He sees himself and what he wants, but he doesn't really see all of his classmates. He just knows that they're different from him. But once he begins to understand, all of a sudden, he sees how beautiful each individual person is. And that's when they learn to get along and play together. And in the end, everybody is playing together and having fun and pretending and using their imaginations. And that is the kind of playing I like to do, right? When I'm at home, when I'm at school, when I'm with friends, I like everybody to be nice and get along with each other, don't you? That makes my heart happy. Well, we don't have time for any more stories today. I have an announcement, though. It means I'm going to tell you something interesting and important. This is my announcement. Announcement. Miss Sheila is taking time off next week. I won't be doing story time next Tuesday or next Thursday. I won't be doing story time live anyway. But my friends at Ready Readers are going to post some other recorded story times at 11 o'clock. So you will be able to come here to the Ready Readers Facebook page, and you will be able to watch a video. And it will be me reading a story. Or if you want, just come back here to the Ready Readers Facebook page and watch another one of our Storytime Lives, because they are saved. And you can go back and watch every single one we've ever done this summer, right? And this spring. So while I won't be here to call your name and say hello to you in person on Tuesday and Thursday, please come back and enjoy some stories. And then I will see you the next week, just like usual, on Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. All right? So until then, everybody stay safe. Everybody stay healthy. Everybody stay kind. And everybody have fun reading. Let's sing our goodbye song, shall we? Here we go. I love you. You love me. We're best friends like friends should be, with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Blow me that kiss. I got it. Join me again for a story soon. Taking a week off, but I'll be back after that. And I can't wait to see you again then for another Storytime Magic Live. Until then, happy reading, everybody. Take care. Bye.